It's that time of year again where we take a look at the best handheld gaming PCs that are out right now or very soon. This year has seen the new AMD Ryzen 7 8840U CPU take the reins from the previous and very popular 7840U. And we have the latest Intel offering with the Intel Ultra series. Maybe less said about that the better. Grab a cup of tea and some bickies as we go over the best handheld gaming PCs. The GPD WIN 4 2024 is the most popular handheld at DroiX. All the staff fight over whenever a new model sample arrives, and going by the number of sales, it is also one of our most popular handhelds. The 2024 model features the AMD Ryzen 7 8840U with the AMD Radeon 780M GPU. There's no real difference in performance on the GPU with last year's model, but there are some performance increases in the CPU speed, especially when used with our new GPU. Plug it up to the GPD G1 via the Occulink port and you have a very powerful handheld. The WIN 4 design is great with a slide up display that reveals a mini keyboard. You won't be writing long pieces of text with it, but it's perfect for quick messages, typing in websites, trolling on YouTube, etc. The best bit about it is how portable it is. I would say that this is the only truly pocketable handheld. For gaming it's great. You have all of the usual gaming controls that feel comfortable. My only small complaint is that with some games the text is very small on this 6-inch display, and it can be hard to read the text. The WIN 4 series is a great all-round handheld, but maybe too small for some. Let's see if the next one is a better fit. The GPD WIN Mini 2024 is an update to the original model released in late 2023. The issues with the temperatures have been mostly fixed, but there is some throttling to help keep it cool. It's another handheld to feature the 8840 CPU. It's a nice improvement over the 7840U. Strangely, the 2024 model is lacking an Occulink port found in last year's model. However, you can still use the USB 4 port, albeit with some reduced performance. The design of the WIN Mini is based on a shrunken down WIN MAX 2 series handheld. The 7-inch 120Hz display, which is only 1 inch larger than the WIN 4, feels larger and is great to play on. The controls feel very good and there is a separate grip you can use for extra comfort. It's barely small enough to fit in large pockets, and with the grip fitted especially, you will want to keep it in a bag. The keyboard keys are larger than the WIN 4, but still not large enough to be able to naturally type on. They require a bit of effort to press, so better typing with one finger and keeping it short. For gaming on, the GPD WIN Mini 2024 is quite good. For games that can run at 120Hz, they look smooth as silk. My only complaint is that in our benchmarks coming up later, we did see lower performance than the WIN 4 and WIN MAX 2. Talking about the WIN MAX 2, that's up next. The GPD WIN MAX 2 2024 was the last in the GPD trilogy to be updated for this year. This is a solid handheld that is great for both gaming on as well as doing boring work with. Featuring the, yeah you guessed it, 8840U CPU, it has some nice features including boss mode covers for the controls, a slot for additional SSD storage, 4G LTE module support, and full size and micro SD card slots. The 10.1 inch display looks absolutely spot on. When you spend a lot of time staring at anything from 5 to 7 inch displays on other handhelds, this really stands out. The 1600p resolution can be taken advantage of in lower demanding games, and for higher demanding ones you are looking at 1080p or 720p like the other handhelds. Or you can plug in an eGPU into the Occulink port for higher resolutions and graphics levels. With it being a larger handheld, it means you have more space for the keyboard and it doesn't disappoint here. The keys are large, low profile and easy to press. You can essentially use it like a normal keyboard. As mentioned in my original review, it is quite a large device to game on, and at 1005 grams it's amongst the heaviest. You won't be playing holding it unassisted, likely using your lap or resting on a table, maybe even using an external controller. But it is possible to play just fine. I've spent a lot of time doing just that. The AYANEO Flip is available in two models, with a keyboard or second screen. The 8840U model is out very soon, and here we are showing the 7840U model. So the real draw here is the choice of keyboard or second screen. The keyboard is much like the WIN 4 mini keyboard, okay for short messages, logging into games, etc. The second screen can show the system stats, change settings and display software there. So yeah, you can run DS games on both screens or watch a video, chat on Discord whilst playing a game. Adding a nice on-screen keyboard to the second display would mostly negate the need to buy the keyboard version, something I believe AYANEO is planning to do. Both models do feel high quality and very comfortable to play on. The 7-inch 120Hz display looks great, however we did see some performance drops in our benchmarks. It does have an Occulink port, so you can take advantage of the eGPU docking stations. Both have their advantages and disadvantages in terms of screen and keyboard. That's one for you to decide on. Our second AYANEO handheld gaming PC is the AYANEO Slide. There's no 8840U model for this stylish handheld, so we have the previous generation 7840U instead. The display not only slides up, but can be also angled for an improved viewing angle. Under the display is a keyboard. It's a bit larger than the WIN 4 keyboard, and I found it easier to type on than both the WIN 4 and Flip keyboards. You won't be writing long messages, but it's fine for short ones. The 6-inch IPS touchscreen looks great as always with AYANEO products. The colours are bright and colourful. Despite the last generation processor, there is not a massive difference between the latest and the 7840U, so it's still a very viable processor to choose from. You can play the same games and emulators as the latest. Putting them side by side, you may notice smoother frame rates in some of the more demanding emulators like ROG, but overall it's nothing major. ONEXPLAYER surprised us with the X1 when it was first announced. Instead of going down the tried and tested route with an AMD based processor, they went with an Intel, specifically the Intel Ultra 5 and 7. Gaming on Intel mobile chips has not been ideal for some time now. We do overall see lower performance in games when compared to last generation's AMD processors, let alone the latest. So why are we mentioning it here? We have to include at least one Intel based device. But seriously though, the X1 is an interesting idea of a 3-in-1 tablet, ultrabook and gaming handheld. You can tailor it to how you want depending on its usage. Use it as a tablet or ultrabook for work or daily usage. Then connect the controllers and transform it into a gaming handheld. It is quite large with a 10.95-inch display. If you spend more time doing work on it than gaming, it's a great alternative to the GPD WIN MAX 224. As a note, the ONEXPLAYER X1 Mini was recently announced, and it will feature the 8840U CPU, which is great to hear. The Steam Deck has continued with great popularity over the years, and despite the processor being quite old now, it is still holding its own with many new releases being optimised for it. The new OLED model looks great, and whilst I admittedly do not spend a lot of time on the Steam Deck, you can't fault it for what it is. Simply browse a game, download it and play. No messing about with Windows installing updates, drivers or dealing with multiple stores. A new model with a faster processor would be great, as it is starting to show its age now, and I can definitely see it happen sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, we have a great handheld that still remains very popular. The ASUS ROG Ally has had its ups and downs since its release last year, but it's getting on the right path with regular software updates to improve the performance and ecosystem hiding Windows. The Ally has an AMD Ryzen Z1 processor, which is around the same performance as the 7840U processor. It is a nice handheld with a comfortable design for playing games on. To be honest, I do not bother with their front-end launcher and prefer Windows Desktop just to load games. My only complaint is they use a proprietary port for the USB, which means you can't plug in an eGPU and get a nice graphics performance boost. An updated ASUS ROG Ally model called the X is due for announcement anytime soon. It will supposedly feature the same processor, but have some design changes and an improved battery amongst other things. We have compiled all of the benchmarks we have performed over the past year for the devices. Please note that the benchmarks were performed at slightly different times, especially for some of the older models such as the Ally and the Steam Deck using a Windows install in particular. The newer 8840U benchmarks have all used the same AMD graphics driver version, so these results should only be used as a rough comparison as they are not fully up to date. We can see in the 3D Mark benchmarks that the 8840U models have a slight lead over the previous generation. The Intel Ultra 7 doesn't do too bad in these results either. The GPD WIN 4 and WIN MAX 2 2024 models enjoy a nice lead in multi-core performance amongst other handheld gaming PCs in Cinebench. The 8840Us have similar single core performance, and the 7840U falls a bit behind. The ROG Ally deserves a mention with the equal single core and fairly high multi-core performance. PC Mark tests the CPU, GPU, RAM and storage, so we can get very different results depending on the components used in these PCs. The Win 4 and WIN MAX 224 take the lead here, with the AYANEO Flip keyboard model not far behind, and the ROG Ally not far behind that. And now for a couple of gaming benchmarks, starting with Forza Horizon 5 on the very low graphics settings. As a note, the Steam Deck TDP is not as high as 28 watts TDP, it was set to 15 watts TDP. Again, the two GPDs take the overall lead across the two resolutions and TDP levels, but overall we see good scores for the AMD processors. Even the Steam Deck beats the Intel Ultra. We are running Shadow of the Tomb Raider benchmark on the lowest graphics settings. The two usuals are top again, with fairly similar frames per second for the other AMD models. The ONEXPLAYER X1 does not do too bad in this benchmark, and also the Steam Deck does very well. Our final benchmark is for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 on the minimal graphics settings with no FSR enabled. Please note that the Ally and Steam Deck were not benchmarked for this game. The AYANEO Flip does very well with the overall highest frames per second. The Win 4 and WIN MAX 224 models take the next two places, with the other AMD handheld gaming PCs following up. The ONEXPLAYER X1 does very bad in this benchmark. It is a GPU demanding game and the Ultra 7 GPU is simply not up to it. The clear winners in our benchmarks are the GPD WIN 424 and GPD WIN MAX 224. They had the most consistent highest places across all of the benchmarks. The other AMD handhelds held their own to be fair, but there is a noticeable increase in performance with two of these three GPD models. The ROG Ally also done fairly well, worth keeping in mind as it does have a lower price. And the Steam Deck, considering we did these benchmarks in Windows, also put up a good fight. Despite the lower performance, it has some very good results, especially at lower TDPs. My choice for best handheld gaming PC was a close call between two handhelds, but I ended up deciding on the GPD WIN 4 2024. The WIN 4 is my daily handheld for two reasons. The first, it is the most portable out of them all, and secondly, it's one of the best performance devices. I take mine to work most days, and whilst travelling it fits in your pocket or bag just fine. It does everything I need and does it very well, and it is the reason why this is my choice for the best handheld gaming PC. The GPD WIN MAX 2 2024 takes second place for me. Like the Win 4, it was the highest performing devices but not quite as portable. You will need a case or bag to carry this one around. I used this one more as a daily work laptop with a bit of gaming thrown in, only because I have the Win 4 as well. If I didn't have the Win 4, this would be great for both. The display and keyboard feel like you are using an ultrabook or laptop, and for gaming when I'm sitting down at home, the Max 2 comes out and I can enjoy the larger screen, which is great for my old eyes. If you are not quite sure what you want in a handheld gaming PC, then the GPD WIN Mini 2024 might be a good option to consider. You have a 7-inch display supporting up to 120Hz, which looks and feels much larger than the Win 4's 6-inch display, though smaller than the WIN MAX 2's 10.1-inch display. The keyboard is not ideal for extensive typing, but the screen is spot on for your brief day-to-day tasks as well as some gaming. The size is not far off pocket portable, it will fit in the jacket pocket or small bag. For the best handheld gaming PC for work and gaming, the WIN MAX 2 2024 would be the winner here, but we have already mentioned that. As an alternative, and if you do more work than gaming, it might well be worth considering the ONEXPLAYER X1. The keyboard accessory changes it from a tablet into an ultrabook style device with a very usable keyboard, and you can always connect the controllers or the base unit if you want to play some games. The gaming performance isn't as great as the AMD based devices, but if you work more than what you game, it's worth considering as the CPU performance is very good for work tasks. You also have an Occulink port to boost the graphics. I have to give AYANEO a mention here so they can win the best dual screen handheld gaming PC category. If you like to spend your time gaming with a video playing for example, then the AYANEO Flip DS is your only option. You can have a YouTube video or movie playing on a second display, and you won't have to switch between the game and video. It's also useful for having a DS emulator, Discord, game guides, etc. on a second display. The 8840U model will be out very soon, so the extra boost in power should help it keep up with the other handhelds. Agree or disagree on our winners and runners up? Let us know in the comments which ones you would choose as the best handheld gaming PC and why. We are always interested in our viewers' feedback as it helps us tailor our store and video content. Talking about stores, we sell most of these handhelds at DroiX.co.uk and DroiX.net. Get the best customer service, 1 or 2 years warranty depending on the brand, and be safe that DroiX has your back if anything should go wrong with your handheld. Please subscribe if you have not already and you won't miss out on our future videos. Thanks for watching, and we will see you back in the next one.